Hello and welcome to Privas Fiskefrur. Today we're gonna tie this fly, all feather streamer. This is a very nice fly to have in the box. It's very easy to tie. You don't require too much materials for this. You can use the long webby feathers on your neck to make this fly. Well, this is made of easy materials, hot melt glue, some large webby feathers, some eyes, and some red for the gills, and some flash for the tail. Well, this is a little teaser. So follow on and see how I tie this fly. Okay, the materials for this fly is a hook like this. It's an off-brand hook in size, not quite sure, but use the hook you want. I use some off-brand hooks. Looks like this. Well, that's the hook, and I use some flash in this. This is Flashabou in pearl from Fly Ties Dungeon, and I'm gonna use some saddle feathers for this. It's for my neck. Use some large webby ones, and one feather on each side. And the gills, I've been using some reddish Arctic Fox. You can use whatever red material you have. It's not important. And I use some 7mm eyes for this, 3D eyes. Of course you can vary whatever color you might use. And I use mono thread for this, 0.1 mono thread. And I use some super glue to attach the eyes. And I cover it all up with the Gorilla Glue. You can use UV resin, of course. I cannot, I'm allergic to it. So that's all I have to say about the materials. Well, follow on with the tying. Okay, now we start tying this fly. I start with putting a hook in the vise and just bend a little to get the offset off, so it will be nicer to work with, and place it so it stands up from the vise like this, just to bend a little more. Okay, and attach some thread. I use mono for this thread. You can use whatever you like. It's not so important, but I have mono. It's cheap and I like it. And now I'm gonna take some Flashabou. This is pearl Flashabou. Take some strands, take out a bunch of it and double it over the thread like this, and wind backwards like this, and measure out how long you want it, like this, and throw it all the way. You can collect it if you want. And I go forward again towards the hook eye. Now I want to have some gills on this. I use some Arctic Fox. I colored myself, I dye myself. I'm very pleased with it, so I use that. It has a bright red orangish color, and I tie it in reverse because I don't want all those frayed tips, but I make some tapering on it a little bit like that. Turn it around, take this grip and just attach it, and snip it off. Be sure not to snip off your thread. It's very annoying. I did that some minutes ago. Well, now you see the tying part is almost done. You take your whip finisher and take some whip finish on this. And snip this off like that. Well, then I'm gonna glue some there's still some glue on it. This is some feather I've just picked out. I want to glue it on the sides, and the glue I'm going to use for this is some hot melt glue. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to take my scissor and just snip some very small pieces off. I don't want too much on this because it builds too much. I try to avoid it. And what I'm gonna do now, I take my dubbing needle like this, take off the old glue and place it on my needle like this. Have the feathers ready and use my lighter just to melt it. Just attach it very carefully to the sides and use fingers and just push it into the glue. Just make it stay there. If you don't, you can pick this glue out and take another try. Well, when I'm filming, always something happen. Try again. Place it onto the needle like that. Try it again. Maybe some luck this time. Oh yeah. Lucky me. Look what I managed to do. One feather is almost there. I have to place some drops of glue on the sides and on the back there, but now I'm gonna make this glue cure, and I take my next piece of hot melt glue, snip it off so I can get it small enough. Well, and now I'm gonna take the feather and just manipulate it a little bit so I can place this hot melt glue drop on the back part. And let go of the feather and just push it into the glue. Push it so it stays there. It stays there, doesn't it? No, it didn't. Then repeat the procedure. Pick it out. Take this glue out and try again. I have to cut some small piece. This is a little fiddly, folks, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Sometimes you guys have to see how it's really like tying flies. It's not always things go after the plan, but you don't have to shiver too much on the hands to do this. Like that. Well, the drop become a little too big, but why don't you can cut it out almost on the other side. Yeah. Now you can take your super glue and just take some drops on the other side and let it seep in. If you have this very thin super glue, I can use that. Maybe that's better than I have, but well. And I start now with the second side, the last side, with some hot melt glue. Repeat it again. Take your dubbing needle and just melt it. Make your feathers ready. Okay, feathers, are you ready? Yes, I am. Now you take your hot melt glue and just place it onto the feather and measure out how long you want it. Just about that. Oh yeah. That was some feather, guys. It was the wrong feather. Well, what about that? It wasn't the wrong feather, but I haven't cut it the right length. I have to measure out. Well, some more cuttings gonna go. There it is. And it's a bit fiddly, but I'm getting there. Make the shiny side go out. See now? Really getting there. And the last drop of glue is gonna go on onto the fly. Melt it. And take your feather, bend it away and push it into the glue like that. See now, there is, the glue is there, the feather is there, everyone's happy. I'm sure I'm happy. Like that. Now we're gonna take and fiddle a little bit around with this and take some glue parts out. I've done that. Well, you can now take some just ordinary lacquer, or if you have some very thin super glue, you can take it onto this. I use this lacquer to reinforce it. It's very thin. It seeps in. But I'd advise you to use some very thin super glue for this. It will reinforce this fly. This is leaking all over the place, but well. This is a fast tie, folks. Sorry about all the fiddling I've been doing. Now I'm gonna find my ice. And I'm gonna use some super glue for this as well. I take a little dab of super glue, not into the hook eye, but somewhere into the feather, like this, and place one eye on top of the super glue. Squeeze it a little, like this. Don't be very shy of the glue here. You shall also cover this afterwards. Measure out so you can get the ice on the same place. And squeeze this little tube so you can get the glue out. Well, now we see we have placed the second eye onto this fly. Squeeze it a little. Make the glue cure. And take your time with this. And I put this on the dryer, and I'm gonna show you what this fly is gonna look like when it's done. Almost, because I use some other flash for this. I take it and put it onto the dryer. Let it stay there a little bit and take this finished fly out. It's almost finished. It hasn't dried up yet, but I'm gonna show you either way. Like this. See, I cover the eyes with some Gorilla Glue. It's a bit fiddly, but it's very effective, this fly. And it's a way to use the long feathers on your neck, long wide webby feathers that you might not even gonna use. So you can make a good result with this if you use some UV resin. I don't have that because I'm allergic to it, so that's the reason I don't use it. But this is a very nice fly to have in your box. I have caught a lot of sea trout on this. It's very nice to have, very easy to tie, fast to tie when you get the hang of it. And now you see what I've been doing all this time. Not all, but now I'm gonna take this other fly out of the dryer and take it out. I think the glue has dried somewhat, so I can put some Gorilla Glue onto this and make it finished, so I can put it on the dryer as well. I take this Gorilla Glue, clear Gorilla Glue. I think this is one of the best glues I've ever used. I bought it on eBay. I'm not quite sure what stores that might have this, but it sure is not the most expensive glue I've been using. I have a lot of this. This is well, I'm gonna see how big this bottle is. You can get this in this 170 milliliters. You have to calculate it over in your weight system, or take some Gorilla Glue onto my dubbing needle and carefully just try to hit the edges of the eye. You don't have to cover the eye completely, but in between the eyes and around the eyes will make this eye stick to the fly, and don't leave the fly, don't loosen it. Well, there was one side, and I take the other. You can use the other hand to support your dubbing needle. Once again, it helps to have a steady hand, so we don't mess around with the glue all over. Well, there was something falling down. Now I place a drop of glue in between the eyes. Try to just eyeball it. And under the eyes. Now I'm gonna get, it's much like epoxy, this Gorilla Glue, so it takes some time to cure, some hours, but I have a drying wheel, so it's gonna spin there until it's ready. So now I take it out of the vise, put it into the dryer, and the fly is done. And well, that's all I had for you folks, and thank you all for watching my videos, and I welcome you back to my next. It's gonna be some videos coming out now, so follow on to my channel, and well, tight lines and bye bye.